Stop this video right now if you're waiting to feel motivated, because motivation is for weak men. What I'm about to tell you will offend the part of you that wants comfort and awaken the part of you that wants control. The most dangerous men on earth don't wake up inspired. They wake up disciplined. And if you understand why, your entire relationship with effort, pain, and progress will change. Be honest. How many times have you said, "I just don't feel motivated," and used it as an excuse? Comment, "No excuses," if you're done letting feelings decide your future. Chapter 1. The Lie of Motivation and the Weak Man's Trap. You've been lied to, not by strangers, not by enemies, but by a culture that worships comfort and sells motivation like a drug. They told you success comes from inspiration, from hype, from feeling ready. Machiavelli would have laughed at this, because power has never belonged to the motivated. It has always belonged to the disciplined. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you need motivation, you are already behind. Motivation is emotional, temporary, unreliable, and ruthless men don't build their lives on things that disappear when life gets hard. Think about it. When are you most motivated? After a speech, after a video, after a win. But when do you actually need discipline? When you're tired, when you're bored, when no one is watching, when nothing feels rewarding. That's where most men collapse. They sit in their rooms, scrolling, waiting for a spark that never comes. They confuse feeling ready with being capable. Machiavelli warned against this exact weakness. He understood that men who rely on emotion become slaves to circumstance, and men who become slaves are ruled. Let's expose the pattern. A weak man waits to feel motivated, acts inconsistently, fails quietly, blames circumstances, repeats the cycle. This loop destroys ambition without ever announcing itself. And the most dangerous part, it feels reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I just need a break. I'm not in the right mindset. No, you're in the comfortable mindset, and comfort is the enemy of dominance. Now listen carefully. Machiavelli wrote The Prince while exiled. Disgraced, poor, politically dead. No applause, no recognition, no motivation. Yet he wrote one of the most influential texts on power ever created. Why? Because discipline doesn't ask for permission from emotions. He didn't wait to feel inspired. He worked, and that's the difference between men who leave ideas behind and men who leave legacies. Pause for a second. If motivation disappeared forever, would your life completely stop? If the answer is yes, you don't lack talent. You lack structure. Here's what modern psychology confirms, and Machiavelli already knew. The brain avoids pain. It seeks pleasure. Left unchecked, it will choose comfort over progress every time. Ruthless men don't fight this nature. They design around it. They don't ask, "How do I feel?" They ask, "What must be done?" This is the discipline code. Discipline is not intensity. It's non-negotiability. You don't negotiate with hunger. You don't negotiate with sleep. And ruthless men don't negotiate with their standards. This will sound harsh, but it's true. Motivation trains you to associate action with emotion. No emotion, no action. That's weakness. Discipline trains you to associate action with identity. I do this because this is who I am. One collapses under pressure, the other hardens. This is why ruthless men appear calm while others panic, why they execute while others hesitate, why they rise when others rationalize failure. They don't feel more than you. They obey themselves more than you. There's another layer Machiavelli understood. Men who rely on motivation are predictable. Men who rely on discipline are terrifying. Why? Because they operate in silence. They don't announce new habits. They don't post progress. They don't explain themselves. They just show up again and again and again. Consistency creates mystery. Mystery creates respect. Respect creates power. The internal coup. Make no mistake. Choosing discipline over motivation is a hostile takeover of your own mind. Your old self will resist. Your habits will fight back. Your emotions will protest. Good. That means you're overthrowing weakness. And in Machiavelli's world, power is never handed over peacefully. Chapter 2. Machiavelli's Discipline Code. How ruthless men operate without motivation. Now we enter dangerous territory. This is where most men quit, not physically but mentally. Because what you're about to hear removes every comfortable excuse you've been using. Machiavelli never designed systems for average men. He designed systems for rulers, survivors, and strategists. And ruthless men today still follow the same code. Not consciously, instinctively. Let's break it down. Here is the first principle: ruthless men internalize. Emotion is irrelevant. They don't wake up asking, "How do I feel?" They wake up asking, "What must be executed?" This single shift changes everything. Emotion-based men act when conditions are perfect. Discipline-based men act regardless of conditions. Psychologically, this rewires authority. When you obey your emotions rule you. When you obey structure, you rule yourself. Machiavelli believed instability invites collapse. Emotion is instability, so ruthless men remove it from decision-making. Weak men negotiate with themselves all day. Just this once. I'll make it up tomorrow. It's not that serious. Ruthless men don't negotiate standards. Why? Because negotiation implies equal power, and discipline requires hierarchy. Your rules sit at the top. Your feelings sit at the bottom. Miss this once, and the entire system decays. That's why ruthless men appear rigid. They are. Rigidity is strength when the world is chaotic. Now, pause. If you lowered your standards even once this week, you didn't make a mistake. You sent your brain a message, and your brain always listens. Here's something Machiavelli understood long before neuroscience. Choice creates weakness. Every decision drains willpower. Every option creates hesitation. So ruthless men design their lives to remove choice. Same wake-up time, same workout schedule, same work blocks. This isn't boring. This is strategic. When there's no choice, there's no debate. When there's no debate, execution becomes automatic. That's how discipline survives long-term. Weak men dramatize pain. They complain. They narrate suffering. They seek validation. Ruthless men analyze pain. What caused this? What does this teach? How do I adjust? Pain becomes feedback, not identity. Machiavelli warned against emotional overreaction. He knew rulers who reacted emotionally lost control. Same rule applies internally. You don't feel pain away, you use it. This is where many disciplined men still fail. They go too hard, burn out, disappear. Ruthless men don't chase intensity. They chase inevitability. Small actions, daily repetition, zero drama. They'd rather move forward at 60% every day than 100% once a week. Why? Because momentum creates identity. Identity creates permanence. This one separates real operators from performers. Ruthless men don't announce discipline. No speeches. No social media vows. No explanations. Why? Because attention leaks power. Machiavelli believed visibility attracts enemies. Silence protects advantage. So disciplined men let results speak. And results speak loudly. The transformation phase. At this point, something changes. You stop relying on hype. You stop chasing motivation. You stop waiting for permission. Your behavior stabilizes, and when behavior stabilizes, confidence follows. Not the fake kind, but the quiet kind that unsettles people. People sense consistency. They sense control. They sense restraint. Chapter 3, Locking the Code. How ruthless men make discipline permanent. This is where most systems fail. Not at the beginning, not in the first week, but right here, when progress starts to feel normal. Because the most dangerous moment in transformation is when discipline stops feeling painful. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that power isn't lost during chaos. It's lost during comfort. So in this final chapter, I'm going to show you how ruthless men lock discipline into identity so it survives. Boredom, success, stress, failure, and temptation. This is where discipline becomes who you are. You cannot build a disciplined life on top of a weak identity. You must kill the old version. Ruthless men do not improve themselves. They replace themselves. That means stop telling stories about who you were. Stop joking about your old habits. Stop keeping symbols of your former weakness, because every time you revisit the old identity, you give it oxygen. Machiavelli warned rulers never to leave rivals alive. Your former self is a rival. End it. No nostalgia, no sentimental attachment, only forward. This is critical. Weak men rely on motivation. Average men rely on willpower. Ruthless men rely on environment. They shape surroundings so discipline becomes the default. Here's how. Phone out of reach during work, clothes laid out the night before, food decisions made in advance, distractions physically removed. When the environment supports discipline, resistance disappears. You don't need strength, you need structure. Machiavelli designed systems that made rebellion difficult. You must do the same internally. This is the rule that separates disciplined men from everyone else. On bad days you do less, but you still do something. You don't skip. You show up tired, you show up angry, you show up unmotivated, but you show up. Why? Because the brain doesn't remember intensity. It remembers consistency. Break the chain once, and the mind starts negotiating again. Ruthless men never allow that conversation to reopen. Listen carefully. The day you feel above discipline is the day discipline starts leaving you. This next part determines whether you keep your edge or lose it. This is subtle, but powerful. Ruthless men don't see discipline as self-improvement. They see it as reputation, not public reputation, internal reputation. They ask, if I break this promise, what does that say about who I am? Once discipline becomes tied to self-respect, it stops being optional. You don't betray your name, you don't betray your word, and you definitely don't betray yourself. Machiavelli believed reputation outlived force. Same rule applies internally. Here's the truth. No motivational video tells you a disciplined life becomes boring. No chaos, no drama, no emotional spikes, just repetition. And that's where most men sabotage themselves. They miss excitement, they miss disorder, they miss the emotional roller coaster. Ruthless men don't. They understand boredom is the price of stability, and stability is the foundation of power. They don't seek stimulation, they seek control. This is the final trap. Weak men reach a milestone and declare victory. I'm disciplined now. I've changed. I made it. Ruthless men never say that, because discipline is not a destination. It's maintenance. The moment you announce completion, vigilance drops. Machiavelli never believed power was permanent. It had to be defended daily. So does discipline. At this stage, something irreversible happens. You stop asking, do I feel like it? Is this worth it? What if I fail? And you start asking, what's next? What needs execution? How do I sharpen further? That's when discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes neutral, and neutrality is dangerous because neutral discipline doesn't argue. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't need motivation. It simply operates. Let's return to the beginning. You said you had no motivation. Good, because motivation is fragile. Discipline is not. Ruthless men don't wait to feel ready. They don't negotiate with comfort. They don't ask permission from emotion. They operate silently, relentlessly, consistently. If this video exposed something in you, if it challenged your excuses, if it made you uncomfortable, that's a sign. Drop discipline in the comments if you're done relying on motivation. And if you want more strategies rooted in power, control, and psychological mastery, subscribe. Because the men who master themselves never need to announce it. They're too busy executing.